Imagine this. You're on a university's website filling out information for their net price calculator. After all, this university has the program you want, and you want to make sure that you can afford it. But after you get your calculations back on the final page, you see 5 digits in the yearly cost estimate slot, with only 4 digits worth of eligible aid to cover it. But underneath, you see list upon list of loans that you are eligible to take out. You think long and hard about this route. Would you be able to saddle the excessive debt? Would you be able to pay it on time while also having to save money for personal costs? Would you even be able to scrape enough money to pay for it without loans? Millions of students every application period face financial roadblocks such as these and often take their chances with debt because the total cost, especially for universities, are just too high. Student loan debt is a growing problem among students today. According to a 2016 study by the Global Financial Literacy Center, or GFLEC, 45% of people in the U.S. aged 18 to 34 had student loan debt. That is almost half the demographic. Following closely, 27% of people aged 35 to 54 contain student debt, which is almost a third of that demographic. Student debt often follows the debtor throughout their life if they cannot pay it in full. And if the debtor dies, it is passed on to their parents or other family, presenting a financial burden and injuring credit scores. Despite the myth that says it is unforgivable, student debt is no different from traditional debt in the sense that it can be nullified by bankruptcy. But unfortunately, federal bankruptcy laws and other pieces of bureaucracy are an otherworldly hurdle for debtors, making forgiveness for student debt significantly improbable. In the 2020 edition of the Duke Law Journal, Jason Iuliano of the Villanova University School of Law wrote that each year, 250,000 debtors file for bankruptcy on student debt. But of those, fewer than 300 successfully charge their debt, bringing the success rate down to a meager 0.1%. This is often due to one significant principle in the student debt forgiveness outline. Would repayment impose undue hardship? This is a humongous obstacle for debtors because undue hardship has never actually been defined by Congress, leading subjective reasoning to be the most often employed method of forgiving debt, and the success rate for that speaks to itself. Due to the scares of student debt, many students that either cannot or have a slim chance of receiving aid substantial enough to cover university costs, parents and students often omit the possibility of going to university entirely. Institutions have noticed this, however, and some have made an effort to cease the financial burden. The UT Promise Scholarship for UT Knoxville is a last-dollar scholarship, much like the statewide Tennessee Promise Scholarship, that helps provide more financial backing for potential students, thereby decreasing the rate of lost applicants. However, this is an exception rather than the rule. With every lost applicant, from a business perspective, is a dollar in success statistic lost. But from a scholastic perspective, it is potential smothered. A common rebuttal to the argument to lower tuition and costs for universities is that post-secondary education has always been costly. And while that may be true, the average cost to attend public and private/for-profit universities has more than doubled from decades past. To put it into perspective, the National Center for Education Statistics, or NCES, lists the average price to attend a 4-year public institution as $5,504 in fiscal year 1985 to 1986, which equates to $13,549 as of fiscal year 2020 to 21. The average cost for public 4-year institutions as of fiscal year 2017 to 2018 was $43,139, which equates to $45,504.62 as of fiscal year 2020 to 2021. The costs are not proportionate to the inflation rates, and on top of that, spending close to the equivalent of a starting year salary for an operations manager, a position which requires a bachelor's degree, just for a year of university is a hefty cost that bears little reward in the long run. And that's just the average of a 4-year public institution, where 14.6 million students out of 19.7 million total students in 2020 were slated to attend. Just about half of them will abandon their degree after graduating. The financial burden of higher education in the U.S. is detrimental to the success of universities. No matter how much it costs for these institutions to operate, it effectively denies students the right to an education that they would otherwise pursue. Yes, universities are still widely successful. There are students that do scramble together the money to pay their dues. However, this often results in debt that has the potential of following them around for life. In a world where a bachelor's degree is increasingly becoming the baseline for well-paying job security, to deny accessibility and or place significant hurdles in a capable crowd that spans all demographics is an institution shooting themselves in the foot and a denial of opportunity, especially considering its importance.